Hi, and welcome to the Monadnock United Way's Living United. I'm Carmen Trafton, the Executive Director of the Samaritans, and today we're going to talk to you about some important information about suicide, some warning signs, things you can do to help your friends, and things you can do to help your community.
I have my ups and downs, just like anybody else.
Maybe more than anybody else.
I can be hard to figure out.
And I like my privacy.
I don't want you looking over my shoulder all the time.
But you know your kid better than anybody else. And if you think he's acting different than usual...
Acting really down, crying all the time for no good reason.
Or getting really mad.
Not able to sleep, or sleeping too much.
Shutting her friends out or giving her stuff away.
Acting reckless, drinking, using drugs, staying out late.
Suddenly not doing stuff he used to love.
Or doing stuff that's just not like him.
It might be nothing to worry about. It might just be high school.
Or it might be something more. He might be depressed.
Not just feeling down, really depressed.
It might be that your kid is thinking about killing himself.
It happens. More than you think. More than it should.
And people say, I had no idea.
I thought it was just a phase he was going through.
I never thought she'd do it.
I wish he'd come to me.
I wish he'd said something.
I wish I'd said something.
When it's too late. So if you think your kid's acting different, if she seems like a different person, say something.
Say, what's wrong? How can I help?
And ask straight out. Are you thinking about killing yourself?
It doesn't hurt to ask. In fact, it helps.
When people are thinking about killing themselves, they want somebody to ask.
They want somebody to care.
Maybe you're afraid you'll make it worse if you ask. Like, you'll put the idea in their head.
Believe me, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
In fact, the best way to keep a teenager from killing herself is to ask, are you thinking about killing yourself?
And what if they say yes?
Or maybe.
Or sometimes,
Well, here's what you don't say.
That's crazy.
Don't be such a drama queen.
you're making too much of this.
That boy's not worth killing
Yourself.
over.
That's not going to solve anything.
You're just trying to get attention.
You're not going to kill yourself.
What you do say is,
I'm sorry you're feeling so bad.
How can I help?
We'll get through this together.
Let's keep you safe.
A lot of people think about killing themselves. Adults and kids.
most of them never try it, but some of them do. So if your kid says,
I'd be better off dead.
I can't live with this.
I'm gonna kill myself,
Take her seriously. Find someone she can talk to about it. Someone who knows how to help.
Sometimes kids want to kill themselves because something happened. A breakup, a failure.
But sometimes it goes deeper, and it's not going to go away by itself.
Get some help. Talk to your doctor.
Or a counselor at school.
Or your minister.
but don't just let it drop.
And make sure that your kid always has someone to turn to. Someone he trusts.
Make a list together, right then. 3, 4, 5 names.
Put a suicide hotline number on there too.
Have him keep that list in his wallet, so he always knows where to turn.
Make sure your home is safe.
If you have pills she could use to hurt herself, lock them up.
If you have a gun, don't just lock it up. Get it out of the house. The bullets, too.
And one more thing. If you think your kid might be about to hurt himself, don't leave him alone.
Take him to the emergency room.
Call 911 if you have to.
We all have our ups and downs, but sometimes it's more than that.
If you think something's wrong, the only way to find out is to ask.
Ask straight out. Are you thinking about killing yourself?
Don't wait until you're sure. Trust your gut.
Because it never hurts to ask.
And it can make a big difference.
All the difference.
In your kid's life.
So as you can see, that's a very important YouTube video that was produced by the Mayo Clinic. I'd like at this time to introduce Kelly Brigham-Steiner from the United Way. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Carmen.
Did I say her name backwards?
No, you
Okay,
said
good.
it perfect.
I do bad with hyphens. So thank you so much for having us today. Kelly and I kind of wanted to do a show just to talk about the warning signs of suicide and some of the indicators and some things that you could do to help save a friend, save yourself, save a loved one. I know it's not the easiest thing to talk about, but I really think it's very important. And when you see a video like that, I try to bring that everywhere that I go. I try to play it everywhere that I am presenting, because I think it's so simple. Like, ask your child, ask your friend, do you feel okay? Do you feel like hurting yourself? We have changed the terminology. I think I told you last time, we no longer say committing suicide because committing has a very negative connotation. People commit crimes, they commit sins. So when you hear those children saying kill themselves, that is the correct terminology at this point for someone taking their life by suicide. You can also say taking your life by suicide or died, but I think it's really important that it's all those things that you might think to say, like it's going to be okay, or you're not really suicidal, or it's not worth it for that boy. I can hear myself sometimes as a parent thinking that might be exactly what I said to my child, just to kind of diminish it and make it not real, and we're just going to get this, get right through this matter of factly. But in reality, it's absolutely not the case. If a child or an adult is talking about not being around or not feeling valued, or even using the terms I'm going to kill myself, that is a big warning sign. They're in crisis. You should seek immediate attention. You can call 911, you can call the school, but you do need to seek immediate attention when people are making those kind of vocalizations. Some of the warning signs that we talked about in the Mayo Clinic are people giving away their belongings. So I can't even tell you how many instances I know where someone gave someone something before they died, and it could have been a huge red flag, but it wasn't, unfortunately, until after the fact. And I often tell people now that Robin Williams gave away his watch collection the night that he died, his beloved watches that were very dear to him. So that could have been a really big warning sign. We've since learned that, unfortunately, Robin was suffering from a very rare form of Lyme disease that affected his brain, and we think that that's the real reason that he died by suicide. So I encourage you too, if you're struggling with Lyme disease, there's new treatments and testing out there that you can ask for, and it absolutely could be something biological, chemical in your body, could be lack of sleep, could be you're missing a nutrient, could be genetic, could be a predisposition, but suicide's not a mental illness. So depression, anxiety, those things can lead to suicide, but suicide itself is 100% preventable. So if we can get to you, or your friends can get to you, or we can get you to get help, we don't need to lose anybody else. And Cheshire County and the Monadnock region, we've had our share of suicides this year. We've had them in the past, but this year we've lost family members and business owners and a young student, and there's been a lot of, I think, attention brought to suicide in our community, which is a good thing. So it's a good thing to talk about. It helps reduce the stigma. Me doing a show with you talking about suicide is no different than you doing a show with Dr. Prasuti talking about a foot problem or a cast or something. So we really need to reduce the stigma. People need to be able to ask for help. There's a great counselor at the high school who students can see, who's absolutely confidential. Not going to talk to your parents, not going to talk to your teachers, not going to talk to anybody else in law enforcement. So you can really get the help that you need. We have crisis hotlines at the Samaritans. There's statewide crisis hotlines. There's national crisis hotlines. It's just getting folks to the phone or to the computer or whatever it is. So obviously, if you see someone in your travels that is feeling depressed or lonely or isolated, those are pretty easy things to recognize, but I have some other ones with me that might be a little bit harder to detect, and especially in the teen and young adult population. So excessive sadness or moodiness. So a lot of people are sad and moody. This is like excessive, or you can't shake it, or every single day you find yourself being sad. Hopelessness. People generally don't describe themselves as hopeless. They don't put up Facebook posts or Instagram posts that say, I feel hopeless. If you see that, reach right out to them. I try not to do suicide prevention in my personal life, but I've absolutely rescued people on Facebook. Friends that put up a message that I saw that I knew it was a big problem. So I just reached straight out to them. I just sent them a little private message. Are you okay? Do you need me to help you? That's all you need to do. They'll feel better just knowing that you asked, that you noticed that they're upset. Sleep problems, whether it's insomnia or a lot of people sleep when they're depressed for long periods of time during the day, and they'll feel tired. So it's not like they're making themselves lay in a bed. They'll actually feel chronically tired. Sudden calmness. This one's a bugger. So if all of a sudden everything seems okay, it's not a problem anymore, that I'm not with that person, I'm over it. That is a big warning sign. Withdrawal, of course, from school, family, social obligations, work, whatever that might be, any sort of withdrawal. A change in personality or appearance. So we always look for that too in drug use, right? Like their personality changes or their appearance. Not always the case. Some people have this so well masked that they just put on their makeup and they go to their job or they go to their event or whatever it might be, and on the outside they look perfectly normal. But when you talk to them, you might notice a difference in their personality. Dangerous self-harm. So we see a lot of abuse of drugs and alcohol. We see some things that might be a precursor to suicide. Not all people who are self-harming are suicidal. So I don't like to talk about people who might be cutting in the same kind of context as someone who's suicidal. They're often very different. People who self-harm are sometimes, they're doing it to experience the pain because they're numb. So when they feel that pain, it gives them a sensation that is different. Suicidal people generally don't need that sort of sensation. They're looking to end their pain and not bring new kind of feeling toward that. Any sort of recent trauma or a life crisis, a divorce, a death in the family, a car accident, losing your student loans, losing your job, your 401 tanks, whatever that might be, can absolutely be one of the indicators that something is coming unglued, that somebody might be experience a significant change in their life that could be a warning sign. And then making sort of preparations. So we know people that, they prepare for their own deaths. They do things not in a ritualistic way, but in a giving away your belongings or making sure everything's squared away with your bills and your parents, or things at work. But you'll see preparations. One man this summer told us that his brother brought his toolbox to his house on the day before he took his life. And it was his livelihood. So why didn't he need his tools? Why was he giving his brother his tools? His brother didn't think much of it until, unfortunately, afterwards. But things like that, preparations are definitely a big warning sign. And then, like I mentioned before, anytime someone's threatening suicide, it is a call for action. It is not a threat. They're not looking for sympathy or attention. And if they are, that is the warning sign. If you're so upset that you are threatening suicide to get attention at school or at home, you're in crisis. So your family needs to, try to come with you and around you and, get you to someplace safe. We have some resources in our community that can be beneficial to you. Sometimes just talking to someone, sometimes a therapist. Sometimes you do need to, have some inpatient counseling. You might need some respite. You might need some medication. There's a lot of different things that can be done and prescribed to people who are in crisis if we can get to them. So our goal today is to try to educate you about the things that you could look for in our community that might be an indicator that someone is needing your help. And I know it feels awkward maybe to be intrusive into someone's mental welfare or how they're feeling today, but you absolutely can do a welfare check anonymously. You can call our police department and say, I'm really worried about this person. I feel like they could be a harm to themselves or others, and the police will do a very nice welfare check. They'll go to the house for free. They'll talk to the person. They'll see if there's firearms. We talked in that video about removing the pills, removing the guns. That's on you. You can do all of that, right? So even if you don't have someone in your family that's maybe depressed or anxious or suicidal, why do you have those pills? You don't need them anymore. You're recovered from your surgery or whatever it was. Just dispose of them. Bring them right to the police station. They have a drop box. I think it's 24 hours a day that you can just get those things out of your life, get those things out of your children's lives and the friends of your children that might come over. So your kid could be doing great, and all of a sudden there's an incident with the firearm or with the prescription pills that you had completely forgotten about, that will make you feel bad for eternity if something like that happened because of something that might have been prevented. So we just encourage people that when you hear those kind of warning signs, to really ask the person how they're doing, or refer them to someone like a teacher or a counselor or the employee assistance hotline, right? So everybody that works gets free employee assistance hotline. So even if you don't have insurance or you can't afford it, you can call, and there's free people at the state that will see you for no charge, that will help you get through these kind of situations. So please, don't be afraid to ask for help. 90% of people who die by suicide have displayed a warning sign. So it's the hardest work that we do, talking to, the grieving spouse who said, I should have known. Why did I do that? That's a hard thing to heal. So if you can prevent that, I think it's always a better route. And, people struggle. Are they going to be mad at me? Or let them be mad at you. They're alive. That's what I tell everybody, right? So if you're mad that I called about you so that you could get help, then, I'm still a good friend, and I'm still here, and you're still here to be mad at me. And that's all I really care about. Most suicidal situations can be, almost alleviated within like 90 days. So 90 days of therapy or prescriptions or inpatient or counseling at school, we can get you through this. It's a very short window of time when you look at how long it might take to heal from other things. It's not a disorder. It will go away. It's not like you're going to be suicidal for your whole life. So let us help you get through those really hard times. And, it was the economy really did a bugger on people for a number of years. Now, political, right? It's going to do a bugger on people for a bunch of years. Come and talk to us. It's free. You are anonymous. You're calling a crisis hotline. No one's going to judge you. They're going to give you real life tools to help you succeed and help you manage the feelings that you're feeling. And we all kind of feel down. So everybody's been sad or depressed or anxious. Probably almost everyone we know has lost someone in their lives and they felt grief. This is different. This doesn't quite go away in a timely manner. So you might be sad for a month or so if you've lost someone, but then you might start to get back into your routine and feel better about life. But for people that are suicidal, they feel hopeless, like pretty much all the time. So recognizing when someone feels hopeless or uses the word hopeless, those are great ways that you could just absolutely save someone's life. And I tell all of our Samaritan volunteers that you're going to save someone's life without ever going to medical school, just by listening and just by being a nice person and a kind soul when that person is really, really down. It can make all the difference. We always need volunteers. I'm actively recruiting now for hotline volunteers for our winter training. So if after the holidays you're looking for something deeply meaningful, call our office. We're going to do a training. It's 26 hours of all kinds of thorough training, so you don't feel like you won't be ready. You will be ready, and the 26 hours are done at your own schedule. So it's not like you're going to come do, a 25-hour work week or something to get trained up. We take our time, and everybody's treated individually, and everybody's on their own different timeline as far as when they finish their training, but deeply meaningful. It will be great for you, wherever you go. It's great skills to have, great phone skills to have, and great person-to-person, interpersonal skills. So even if it turns out it's not for you at the end of your training, there's other things that you can do, and you'll have learned a very critical life skill that could save someone's life someday.
So I'm going to jump in here, Carmen. Wow.
I know.
A lot of good information for people. One of the things I really want to pay some attention to is to not be afraid to support a person. I think sometimes we feel like we could be invasive, or you're not quite sure what the message is that they're sending to you. I think when you're questioning that message that you're hearing, our guts are pretty good in life, and when you have that sense that something is not right, the right thing to do is to always reach out to someone else to assist or help. And lots of times I think we know that. You mentioned Facebook. And it's not that I'm trolling Facebook looking for that, but there's times where you see people maybe post something and you say, that just doesn't look right or sound right or feel right. I'm going to reach out to them. You reach out, and sometimes you find out that things are a little more serious than you thought, and you need additional help. Sometimes they just need that person, just like they said in the video, to just say, hey, I'm here to listen, I'm here to help. On the other side of that is, I think you have to know when to seek help if someone is talking to you about suicide. And I think lots of times, and I particularly see this among the college-age population, teenagers, there's a lot of peer-to-peer conversation that goes on. And I think sometimes in that peer-to-peer conversation, they're afraid to go to an adult. They're afraid to go to a parent and say, I'm worried about your son or daughter. So how do people sort of, walk that line?
Well, if you know the person, definitely do just what you said. Private message them. Are you okay? Your post scared me, or it made me think. It made me reach out to you. If it's somebody that you feel like you can't really approach, tattle. Call anonymously. I don't care as long as they don't die. So if you see a kid at school that's really troubled and you don't know them well enough, and you don't know one of their friends, or you don't have the time, or you feel like it could become like all on you, right? Now you know, and now you're going to help me. Just go to someone else. Go to a professional. People are very forgiving when they find out after the fact that people were trying to help them. So it's always like ask permission or beg forgiveness. I would rather beg forgiveness after the fact. I think sometimes people are overwhelmed in their own lives and they don't want to take on such responsibility. Or what if I make a mistake and they die? Or what if I found out something I can't deal with that's illegal, or whatever it might be? You just have to do that. You're not going to get in trouble. If you end up helping someone who's a drug addict, the police aren't going to involve you in their addiction. No one's going to think that you were responsible for providing the drugs to them. You're just a friend who's in that situation. I see a lot of pressure on college students for grades. A lot of midterm and final exam anxiety, and we lose 1,600 college students annually in the United States. 1,600 annually to suicide, and those are the ones that we know about. Those are the ones that left a note or were positive it was a suicide. Those aren't all those other ones that might have been a car accident, or might have been a slip and fall off a trail, or some of the other ways that students have been known to pass unbeknownst to suicide. That's a ridiculous number. that we're losing almost 2,000 college students, educated, well cared for, provided for, functioning adults in our community. 2,000 a year, to me, is unfathomable. So we just need to, really look for the warning signs, reach out, do what you can. We lose someone in New Hampshire every 36 hours to suicide. So please help us if you can. Call our office. Our website, SamaritansNH.org, has so much information for you.
So, Carmen, such an important message. Again, you started the top of the show saying, this was an important one because you might save somebody's life. And so I hope that we view this over and over and over again. Audience, you have an opportunity to get involved with organizations like Samaritans. It's critical that you do, whether you're on their board of directors, whether you join as a volunteer to answer phones and talk with people. Great training available through them. But the most important thing is to remember to listen, to care, to advocate for those individuals who may need you. I want to remind you to give, to volunteer, advocate. Thanks for joining us.